I was staring at my phone when the police called. They wanted to know why my apartment in Hoboken was filled with stolen financial documents, fake IDs, and prescription bottles that didn't belong to me. I told them the truth, I didn't live there anymore. What I didn't tell them was that I knew exactly how those things got there, and who put them there. But let me back up 6 months, because none of this makes sense without understanding how it started. I thought I was losing my mind. Small things at first. A coffee mug I never touched sitting on the kitchen counter. The bathroom mirror smudged with fingerprints even though I'd wiped it down that morning. My living room window unlocked when I absolutely knew, I'd locked it before leaving for work. I blamed exhaustion. My job at a marketing firm in Manhattan meant 12-hour days and a brutal commute from New Jersey. My husband Marcus had just taken a position in Boston, so we were doing the long-distance thing temporarily. The apartment felt emptier than usual. Lonely. Maybe I was forgetting things. Maybe stress was playing tricks on me. Then it got worse. I came home one Friday night, dropped my bag by the door, and froze. The spare bedroom, always kept shut because I used it for storage, was wide open. I stood there in the hallway, heart pounding, staring at that open door. I didn't want to look inside. But I did. On the bed sat a floral scarf. Light blue with white roses. I recognized it immediately because I'd seen it 100 times, usually draped over the shoulders of someone who smiled too much in public and said things like, "Family is everything," while looking straight through me. The scarf belonged to my mother-in-law, Patricia. Patricia lived 2 towns over in a house she'd bought with her late husband's life insurance money. She was the type who posted Bible verses on social media and then talked about people behind their backs at church. From the day Marcus and I got married, she treated me like a temporary inconvenience. A phase her son would eventually outgrow. But this? Breaking into my apartment? I grabbed my phone and called Marcus. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice distracted. "Hey, babe, what's up? Your mother was in our apartment." Silence. Then he laughed. Not a real laugh, the nervous kind. "What? No. Mom wouldn't do that. Her scarf is here. On our bed. The spare room was open, and her scarf is just sitting there. Maybe you brought it home last time we visited her?" "Marcus, I didn't. You're stressed. You're working too hard. Mom wouldn't break in." "That's crazy." The way he said, "crazy," made my stomach drop. He didn't believe me. Marcus's dismissal stayed with me longer than the scarf. I removed it from the bed, folded it carefully, and put it in a drawer. Part of me wanted to throw it away. The other part needed to keep it as proof, though proof of what, I wasn't sure yet. The break-ins didn't stop. A week later, I noticed half a container of leftover pasta missing from my fridge. Not the whole thing, just enough to make me question whether I'd eaten it and forgotten. My laptop, which I always left closed on my desk, was open and angled differently. Small things. Crazy-making things. Then I found the emails. Printed. Stacked neatly on my desk in the living room. They were messages between Marcus and me from 3 months earlier, private conversations about his mother, about money, about our plans to move to a bigger place once his Boston contract ended. Someone had accessed my computer, scrolled through my inbox, selected specific emails, and printed them. I called Marcus again. This time he sighed before answering. "Iris, I'm in a meeting. Someone printed our private emails and left them in the apartment." "What?" "Our emails. From my computer. They're printed out and sitting on my desk." A long pause. "Are you sure you didn't print them yourself? Maybe for something and forgot? Why would I print our personal emails?" "I don't know, babe. Look, I can't do this right now. We'll talk tonight, okay?" He hung up before I could respond. That night, he called back with a new theory. Maybe the landlord had entered for maintenance and accidentally moved things. Maybe I was remembering wrong about the emails. Maybe I should see someone about the stress. He never once suggested his mother might be responsible. That's when I realized something that changed everything. Marcus wasn't going to help me. Either he truly didn't believe me, or, and this thought made my hands shake, he knew exactly what was happening and was pretending not to. I sat alone in that apartment, surrounded by evidence that someone was violating my space, and understood that I was completely on my own. So I stopped calling Marcus. And I started planning. If no one was going to believe me, I'd make it impossible to deny. I'd get proof so clear, so undeniable, that even Marcus couldn't explain it away. I ordered a camera online that same night. The camera arrived 2 days later in a plain brown box. Nothing fancy, just a small indoor security camera that connected to my phone. I set it up in the living room corner, angled to cover the front door, the desk, and most of the main space. The bedroom and spare room weren't visible, but I figured if someone was coming in, they'd have to pass through the living room first. I didn't tell Marcus. Something in my gut said he'd talk me out of it, convince me I was overreacting, make me feel foolish for even considering it. The first day, nothing. The second day, nothing. By the third day, I'd started to wonder if maybe Marcus was right. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe the stress of living alone and working too much had created problems that didn't actually exist. Then my phone buzzed during a meeting at work. Motion detected. My heart stopped. I was sitting in a conference room with 6 colleagues, pretending to pay attention to a presentation about Q3 projections, and my phone was lighting up with an alert from my apartment. I waited until someone asked a question, then quietly opened the app under the table. The live feed loaded. Patricia was standing in my living room. I watched her close the front door behind her, not rushing, not looking around nervously like someone who'd broken in. She moved like she had every right to be there. She pulled a key from her purse and set it on the counter. A key to my apartment. A key I'd never given her. My hand started shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. She walked to my desk first. Opened the top drawer, looked through papers, closed it. Opened the second drawer. She picked up my laptop, opened it, and stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and started taking pictures, of my screen, of documents on my desk, of things I couldn't quite see from the camera angle. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't stress. This was real, and I was watching it happen in real time from 20 miles away. Patricia moved to the kitchen next, opening cabinets like she was looking for something specific. She checked the mail on the counter, flipped through a few envelopes, then set them back down. Then she did something that made my blood turn to ice. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small manila envelope. She walked to the couch, bent down, and slid it behind the cushions, not hidden exactly, but placed deliberately in a spot where it wouldn't be immediately visible. She straightened up, looked around the apartment one more time, and left. The whole thing took 11 minutes. I sat in that conference room, surrounded by people talking about marketing strategies and budget allocations, and realized I'd just watched my mother-in-law plant something in my apartment. Not take something. Plant something. The question that kept circling through my mind was simple and terrifying: why? What was in that envelope, and why did she need me to find it? I didn't go home that night until I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to wait and see what else she'd do. Over the next 2 weeks, Patricia came back 4 more times. Each visit followed the same pattern. She'd let herself in around midday when she knew I'd be at work. She'd spend 10 to 20 minutes moving through the apartment, checking drawers, photographing documents, and always planting something new. The second time, she left a USB drive tucked inside a cookbook I never used. The third time, she placed a small stack of papers inside my winter coat pocket in the closet. The fourth time, she added a prescription bottle with my name on it to the medicine cabinet. I'd never seen that medication before in my life. I didn't touch any of it. Instead, I documented everything. I saved every video clip, noted the time stamps, watched the footage over and over trying to understand what she was doing. The medication bothered me most. It was for a controlled substance, something for anxiety or pain, I wasn't sure. But it had my name printed clearly on the label, from a pharmacy I'd never been to, prescribed by a doctor I'd never heard of. That's when I started to get scared. This wasn't just snooping. This wasn't a nosy mother-in-law with boundary issues. This was systematic. Planned. She was building something, a collection of evidence that pointed to me. But evidence of what? I finally checked the envelope she'd hidden behind the couch cushions. Inside were photocopies of financial documents, bank statements, loan applications, credit card bills. All with my name on them. All from accounts I didn't recognize. My hands trembled as I flipped through them. Thousands of dollars in debt. Loans taken out in my name. Purchases I'd never made. Someone had been using my identity. And Patricia was making sure these documents were found in my apartment. I thought about calling the police right then. But something stopped me. If I reported this now, what would I say? That my mother-in-law was breaking in and leaving evidence of crimes I didn't commit? They'd investigate me first. They'd see my name on everything. They'd find the medication, the USB drives, whatever else she'd planted that I hadn't discovered yet. I'd look guilty. That realization hit me like cold water. Patricia wasn't just framing me. She was doing it carefully, methodically, in a way that would be nearly impossible to defend against. The question was why. I called Marcus one more time. Told him everything, the camera, the footage, the planted evidence, all of it. His reaction told me everything I needed to know. He didn't get angry at his mother. He got scared. "Don't call the police," he said, his voice tight. "Please, Iris. Just give me some time to figure this out." "Figure what out?" "Mom is going through something. This will destroy the family if you..." "If I what?" "Report that she's framing me for fraud?" Silence on the other end. That's when I finally understood. This wasn't about Patricia at all. This was about Marcus. And whatever he'd done, his mother was trying to cover up. "What did you do?" I asked the question quietly, but Marcus heard the shift in my tone. "What?" "Nothing. I didn't. Your mother is planting fake financial documents in our apartment. Documents with my name on accounts I've never opened. She's doing this during the day when she knows I'm at work. She has a key I never gave her. And when I tell you about it, you don't ask how she got in. You don't ask why she's doing it. You ask me not to call the police." Silence. "Marcus. It's complicated." "Then uncomplicate it." He let out a long breath. "Mom thinks she's helping." "Helping who?" "Me. Us. She thinks, look, there were some business things that didn't go the way I planned. Before we got married. She's trying to clean it up before it becomes a problem." My stomach dropped. What kind of business things? Investments that went bad. I had to borrow money to cover them. I used some joint accounts. We don't have joint accounts. We kept everything separate until after the wedding. Another silence. This one longer. "Marcus, what accounts are you talking about?" I needed credit to cover the losses. My credit was maxed out. So I opened a few things in your name. Just temporarily. I was going to pay them off before you ever knew. The room tilted. "You stole my identity." "No. We're married. It's not stealing when..." "We weren't married when you did it." My voice came out flat. Distant. "You said this was before the wedding." I heard him breathing on the other end of the line. Trying to find words that would make this sound less terrible than it was. "How much?" "It doesn't matter. I'm handling it." "How much, Marcus?" 70,000. Maybe 80. But I've been making payments. I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. $80,000 in debt. In my name. Opened before we were even married, which meant he'd planned this. He'd stolen my social security number, my information, my identity, and used it to cover his own mistakes. And his mother knew. That's why she was breaking in. That's why she was planting evidence. But it still didn't make sense. If she was trying to help Marcus, why make it look worse? Why add more fraudulent documents? Why plant medication? Unless. I opened my laptop and pulled up the videos again. Watched Patricia's fourth visit frame by frame. She'd placed that prescription bottle in the cabinet, but before that, she'd photographed something on my desk. I zoomed in on the footage. She'd been taking pictures of my tax returns. My clean tax returns. The ones that didn't show any of Marcus's fake accounts. And then it clicked. Patricia wasn't covering up Marcus's crimes. She was creating a paper trail that made me look guilty while Marcus looked innocent. If anyone investigated, they'd find everything in my apartment. My name on the documents. My prescriptions. My fingerprints on everything. Marcus would claim he had no idea. Just a shocked husband discovering his wife had been living a secret life of fraud and pill addiction. They were setting me up to take the fall. Both of them. I sat in that apartment, the one that no longer felt like mine, and realized I had two choices. I could fight this and probably lose. Or I could disappear and let them destroy themselves. I chose the second option. By morning, I'd found a short-term rental in New Haven, Connecticut. Listed under my maiden name. Bennett. Not Parker. I gave myself 3 days to move. I moved like a ghost. Day 1, clothes, toiletries, laptop, important documents. Everything that mattered fit into 4 suitcases and 2 boxes. I'd been living minimally anyway. Marcus and I had always said we'd get real furniture once we moved somewhere permanent. Now I was grateful for the temporary mindset. Day 2, kitchen essentials, books, anything with sentimental value. I worked quickly, efficiently, during business hours when I knew Patricia might show up. Let her see the apartment still furnished. Let her think nothing had changed. Day 3, final sweep. I took photos of everything, the planted evidence still in place, the medicine cabinet with the prescription bottle, the USB drive in the cookbook, the documents hidden in my coat pocket. I left it all exactly where Patricia had put it. Then I did something that felt either brilliant or insane. I left the camera running. Adjusted the angle slightly so it captured even more of the room. Made sure it had constant power. Set it to upload everything to cloud storage that Marcus didn't know about. The apartment still looked lived in. Furniture in place. Dishes in the cabinet. Shower curtain hanging. Mail piling up on the counter like I was just busy and hadn't gotten to it yet. But I was gone. I didn't tell the landlord. Didn't forward my mail. Didn't leave a note. I just vanished. The New Haven apartment was smaller, cheaper, and completely anonymous. The landlord barely looked at my ID, just cashed my deposit check and handed me the keys. No one here knew me as Marcus's wife. No one knew about Patricia or the break-ins or the debt I didn't owe. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. But I kept the camera app on my phone. Kept watching. Patricia came back 5 days after I moved out. She let herself in, looked around, seemed satisfied that everything appeared normal. She added another envelope to the growing collection, this one tucked under the bathroom sink. She stayed longer this time. Almost 30 minutes. Took more photos. Checked the mail. Even opened the fridge and seemed puzzled that the food was going bad. But she didn't call anyone. Didn't seem worried. 2 weeks passed. Patricia visited 3 more times. Each visit, she seemed slightly more confused about why I wasn't clearing out the old food, why the mail was piling up, why nothing was changing. But she kept planting evidence. Kept building her case against me. She had no idea I was watching from another state. No idea that every visit was documented. No idea that the apartment she kept breaking into was abandoned. I just waited. Let her dig deeper. Let her feel confident. Then my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Is this Iris Bennett? Yes. This is Detective Morrison with the Hoboken Police Department. We need to ask you some questions about your apartment. What kind of questions? Detective Morrison's voice was measured, professional. We executed a search warrant at your residence this morning. Can you tell me when you last stayed there? My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. I moved out about 3 weeks ago. Why? A pause. You moved out? Is the lease in your name? Yes, but I relocated for personal reasons. What's this about? Ma'am, we found a substantial amount of concerning material in the apartment. Financial documents suggesting identity theft, fraudulent account statements, and several bottles of controlled substances with your name on the prescriptions. We need you to come in for questioning. I don't live there anymore, I repeated. I haven't been inside that apartment in 3 weeks. Then how do you explain? I can't explain what I didn't put there. I took a breath. But I can show you who did. That got his attention. Excuse me? I have video footage. Dates, timestamps, everything. Of someone breaking into that apartment repeatedly and planting evidence. I've been documenting it for a month. Silence on the other end. Then, you have footage of someone planting evidence in your own apartment, and you didn't report it? I'm reporting it now. 3 hours later, I was sitting in an interview room at the Hoboken Police Department with my laptop open, walking Detective Morrison and his partner through every single video. They watched Patricia let herself in. Watched her photograph my documents. Watched her plant the envelope, the USB drives, the prescription bottles. This woman, Morrison said, pausing the footage. Who is she? My mother-in-law. Patricia Parker. And she has a key to your apartment? Not one I gave her. The detectives exchanged glances. The partner, Detective Chen, leaned forward. Why would your mother-in-law be framing you? To protect her son. My husband. I pulled up the financial documents on my laptop. Marcus Parker opened credit accounts and took out loans in my name before we were married. $80,000 worth. When I discovered it, he begged me not to report it. Said his mother was trying to fix things. Fix things by making you look guilty. That's what I thought at first. I clicked to another folder. But then I realized, if I looked guilty of fraud and prescription drug issues, and we got divorced, Marcus could claim he had no idea. He could say he was the victim of a wife with a hidden criminal life. All the debt in my name stays with me. He walks away clean. Morrison sat back in his chair. That's a serious accusation. I have documentation for all of it. The accounts he opened. The dates. Everything. Chen was still watching the video footage. When was the last time she entered the apartment? I checked my phone. 2 days ago. 48 hours ago, almost exactly. And she doesn't know you've moved out? No one does except you. Morrison and Chen looked at each other again. Some kind of silent communication passed between them. Ms. Bennett, Morrison said slowly, would you be willing to let us continue monitoring that apartment? The camera's still recording. I mean physically. Set up proper surveillance. Your mother-in-law is clearly comfortable entering the premises. If she does it again, you can catch her in the act. Exactly. I agreed immediately. They didn't have to wait long. Patricia was arrested the next afternoon, entering my apartment with a canvas bag full of documents. She'd been so confident, so certain of her plan, that she'd never considered someone might be watching. The footage showed everything. Her using the key. Her planting new evidence. Her photographing my tax returns. But what happened during her police interview, that's when everything changed. Because Patricia didn't stay quiet. She started talking. And what she said made the detectives call me back in immediately. Detective Morrison called me at 7 in the morning. "We need you to come back in. Patricia Parker made some claims during questioning that we need to verify." "What kind of claims?" "Better if we discuss it in person." An hour later, I was back in the same interview room, watching Morrison set up a recording device. "Your mother-in-law is saying she wasn't trying to frame you," he began. "She's saying the opposite. That she was trying to protect you." I stared at him. "Protect me by planting fake documents in my apartment?" "According to her statement, those documents aren't fake. She says Marcus has been using your identity for years, long before you even knew. She claims she discovered it 6 months ago and has been trying to collect evidence to prove it before you found out the hard way." My mouth went dry. "That doesn't make sense. Why not just tell me?" Chen slid a folder across the table. "She says she tried. Says she sent you emails, left voicemails, even tried to talk to you at family gatherings. You never responded. I never got any emails from her. She says Marcus was monitoring your accounts. Deleting messages. Controlling what information reached you." I opened the folder. Inside were printouts of emails, sent from Patricia's address to mine, dating back 8 months. Subject lines like, "We need to talk about Marcus," and "Please call me privately," and "This is important." I'd never seen any of them. He was deleting her emails? "That's her claim," Morrison said. "She also says the prescription medication she placed in your apartment wasn't fraudulent. She says Marcus had it filled using your insurance, and she took it from his apartment in Boston to prove he was forging your prescriptions." My head was spinning. "So she broke into my apartment to help me?" "She broke into your apartment because she says Marcus changed your locks and told her you'd moved. She used an emergency key she'd kept from when she helped you move in 2 years ago. She wanted to leave evidence where you'd find it, proof of what Marcus was doing. Then why hide it? Why put things behind the couch and inside coat pockets?" Chen leaned forward. "She says she didn't want Marcus to find it first if he came to visit. She was trying to hide it from him, not from you." I sat back in my chair, trying to process this. Everything I thought I understood about the past month was flipping inside out. "Does she have proof of any of this?" Morrison nodded slowly. "Some. We're verifying her claims now. But here's where it gets complicated." He pulled out another document. "We started looking into your husband's finances based on what you told us. And based on what Patricia told us. The preliminary findings suggest you're both partially right." "What does that mean?" "It means Marcus did open accounts in your name. Did commit identity fraud. But some of the evidence Patricia planted, the worst of it, the things that would make you look criminal, those appear to be fabricated." My stomach turned. "So she was framing me and trying to help me?" "That's what we're trying to figure out." Chen's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked at Morrison with an expression I couldn't read. "What?" I asked. Morrison turned to me. "Marcus Parker just lawyered up. His attorney contacted us an hour ago with a statement." "What kind of statement?" "He's claiming you and his mother were working together. Says you planned this together to extort money from him. Says he has proof you've been in contact with Patricia for months, coordinating everything." The room felt like it was tilting. "That's insane. I haven't spoken to Patricia outside of family gatherings since the wedding. Can you prove that?" And that's when I realized the trap was bigger than I'd thought. Marcus stopped returning my calls entirely after that. His lawyer, though, a man named Richard Voss with a downtown office and a reputation for defending white-collar criminals, called me 3 times in 2 days. Each time with the same message: Marcus was willing to settle quietly if I signed a non-disclosure agreement and dropped all claims against him. "Your client committed identity fraud," I told Voss during the 3rd call. "Why would I sign anything?" "Because if this goes to court, Ms. Bennett, will present evidence that you were aware of the accounts from the beginning. That you benefited from them. That you're only claiming fraud now because the marriage is falling apart. I never touched that money. Can you prove where every dollar you spent in the last 3 years came from? Can you prove you never used a credit card he opened? Never made a purchase on an account in your name? He had a point, and he knew it. Marcus and I had shared expenses. Dinner bills. Vacation costs. I'd handed him my card plenty of times when his wallet wasn't accessible. Had he swapped cards? Used the fraudulent accounts while I thought I was using my own? I couldn't prove I hadn't. Voss continued, my client is prepared to offer you a clean divorce, full assumption of all debts in question, and $50,000 for your cooperation. Cooperation meaning I say this was all a misunderstanding. Cooperation meaning you acknowledge the accounts were joint decisions made during the marriage, and you're choosing to part ways amicably. And if I don't? Then we go to court. And the evidence gets very messy for everyone involved, including Patricia. That caught my attention. What does Patricia have to do with this? Your mother-in-law has her own legal problems now. Breaking and entering. Tampering with evidence. If you cooperate, my client is willing to ask the prosecutor to show leniency in her case. So that was the play. Marcus was using his mother as leverage against me. I hung up without answering. That night, I went through everything again. Every document, every video, every piece of evidence I'd collected. And I found something I'd missed before. In one of the videos, Patricia's third visit, she hadn't just planted evidence. She'd also taken something. A small notebook from my desk drawer. I'd assumed it was empty, just something I'd bought and never used. But when I checked the footage more carefully, I could see writing on the pages as she flipped through it. I'd kept notes in that book. Phone numbers. Passwords. Account information. Information Marcus could use to access my actual accounts, not just the fake ones. Patricia had taken it. Which meant either she was collecting evidence of Marcus's crimes like she claimed. Or she was giving him access to finish what he'd started. I called Detective Morrison. I need to know whose side Patricia is really on. So do we, he said. Because we just found something that changes everything. What? Patricia Parker has $2 million in an offshore account that was opened the same month Marcus started using your identity. 6 months later, I'm still living in New Haven under my maiden name. The case is ongoing. Marcus is under federal investigation for wire fraud, identity theft, and financial crimes that apparently stretch back 5 years before I ever met him. Turns out I wasn't his first victim, just his most convenient one. Patricia is facing charges for breaking and entering, evidence tampering, and being an accessory after the fact. Her lawyer is arguing she was trying to expose her son's crimes. The prosecutor is arguing she was helping him hide them while building herself a safety net with that offshore account. I still don't know which version is true. Some days I think Patricia was a mother trying to stop her son from destroying an innocent woman. Other days I look at that $2 million and think she was just smarter about covering her tracks than Marcus was. The evidence points both ways. There are emails she sent warning me. But also transfers she made to accounts in my name. There are documents she collected proving Marcus's fraud. But also fabricated prescriptions that would have made me look unstable if anyone had found them first. Detective Morrison tells me the truth will come out at trial. But I'm not sure I believe in clear truths anymore. What I know is this: I was married to a man who saw me as a tool. Someone whose identity could be borrowed, whose trust could be weaponized, whose love made me easier to manipulate. And his mother either tried to save me or helped destroy me. Maybe both. I rejected the settlement offer. Voss called it a mistake. Said the trial would ruin whatever reputation I had left. Said I'd spend years trying to rebuild credit and prove I wasn't complicit. He might be right. But I'd rather spend years rebuilding than one more day pretending the people who hurt me deserve my silence. Marcus still hasn't called. His lawyer handles everything. I heard through a mutual friend that he's living with his mother now, both of them waiting for their separate court dates, probably blaming me for the destruction of their carefully constructed lies. Last week, Detective Chin called with an update. They'd found more victims, 3 other women Marcus had been involved with before me. Each one had mysterious dead appear in their names. Each one had walked away quietly, believing it was somehow their fault. I was just the first one who didn't. But here's what keeps me up at night. Did Patricia break into my apartment to destroy me, or to stop me from discovering who Marcus really was before he did something worse? Because they found one more thing in that offshore account. A life insurance policy. With my name on it. Taken out 8 months ago. And I never signed anything.